super excited about this. We're actually gonna go tubing on the Ocoee River, and this is gonna be the Lower Ocoee. All right, well, I jumped out of the tube. Hopefully Kyle will get here soon. We're tubing down the river, everything is great, and we see a bridge coming our way. Everything turned really bad. We go opposite directions and our rope literally got wrapped around the column. And this was the part where I was the most scared.
I'm Laura and this is my story. I'm challenging myself on new hiking trails to get more fit, while slowly picking up backpacking and camping skills for my ultimate goal of completing a thru hike. And today I'm taking a break from the trails to enjoy some time on the river. Subscribe and follow along on one of my favorite outdoor adventures.
Today's the day. We are going to be heading out on the river. Super excited about this. It's been so hot here, like I keep saying over and over and over and over and over and over again. We're actually gonna go tubing on the Ocoee River, and this is gonna be the Lower Ocoee near Dam number 1. And it's a Friday, so they are running the water. During the week it's very spotty, but on the weekends it's pretty much a guarantee that the river will be up, at least until October. So we're gonna go tubing on the water, and I'm gonna bring you along. I gotta inflate these tubes, and we gotta take one car to the spot where we're going to be getting out, and then we'll be on our way. A pro tip to know when you go to buy your own floats or your own tubes, make sure that they have a headrest. That makes a world of difference. And the second thing that you're absolutely gonna want when you're going tubing down a river are paddles. Every time we go tubing on the river, everyone compliments us on having a paddle. It just makes sense. You don't have to worry about getting stuck on one of the sides, or if you see a tree that's kind of leaning over on top of the water, you can maneuver your way around it. It just makes sense. And you just need one. Here's a little YouTube video magic for you. All right, I was really thinking that this was gonna fit in my trunk, but newsflash, it doesn't. So we're gonna have to deflate some of these and just fill them up next to the river. All right, I'm gonna leave some air in there. And we're just gonna bring our manual pump. Dang, it's still way too big. All right, well, there's a little bit left in there. Barely any, but whatever. It'll just be like the good old days. I gotta get this shut. The water feels so good. We were just checking it out before we leave the takeout spot, but the water is so refreshing and it's so clean and clear. All right, so we already almost left the keys to the car that we need when we get out. We almost left those keys in my car here at the put-in. So definitely don't do that. We've already done that one time and it was my mistake. So make sure that you bring a dry bag or a dried container and put your keys in there and attach it to your float somehow. I use a carabiner. So I just filled up both of our tubes and Kyle was like, oh, I feel like I hear air somewhere. 2 minutes later, someone came up to us and they were like, do you have duct tape? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. And they're like, dang, our tube is deflating and there must be a hole. I was like, no, sorry. And then Kyle looked down at our tube and he's like, dang, we have a hole too. Now I'm headed home to grab some duct tape for both of us. And in exchange, they're gonna let us use their electric pump. So one way or another, we're gonna get on the river.
So this is who I went to go get the tape for. Taylor and Layden. You're going to want to remember them later.
All right, one of these has to work. All right, it's definitely starting to get more crowded here. There are a lot of tubers. Should have gotten here even earlier, but it is what it is. And we decided we're gonna just go with duct tape. I am finally on the water. Now I'm just waiting for Kyle to catch up. He was getting some drone footage. Now it's just like a peaceful, calm float on the river. And so far my tube is staying inflated. Hopefully it stays that way. And you do have to have a life jacket. Adults don't have to have it on, but kids and pets have to have it on if you're going to be on the water. So happy to be on the water because it feels so good. I'm just waiting for Kyle. Okay, I think that it's about to get kind of shallow, so maybe I can hop out and wait for Kyle. All right, well, I jumped out of the tube because I thought it was shallow, and it was shallow, but it was moving so fast to the point where I couldn't stand up. There was like no way I could stand up. I'm able to stand up now, but the current is definitely really strong. And then as I got out my drink, which I thought was secured, it fell out, so I had to go and chase that. And then, man, you don't think that this current is flowing, but it really flows fast. I really underestimated that, and hopefully Kyle will get here soon. I don't know if you can tell how fast this water's moving, but it's too fast for me. Too fast for me to try to stand up. So right now I'm kind of in between these two currents and I can hold myself. I'm like propped up against some rocks. So hopefully Kyle will hurry. Oh my gosh, I think I hear him. There he is! Yay! It's Kyle! You made it! Oh my gosh, I'm so relieved. I was almost thinking you left me out here by myself. Okay, I have to interrupt. So after what you just saw, everything turned really bad on the river. It's such a crazy story with what happened to us on the river. It was honestly a really scary experience for us both, and I really think that it's important for me to finish telling the story. So right after Kyle caught up to me, he zoomed right past me, and I was able to catch up with him, but it took maybe like 45 minutes. I was paddling as hard as I could. I was finally able to catch up to him, but in that process, my phone got damaged and there's no video of everything that happened after that. We had brought some rope and we decided to tie and connect to each other. And that was fine for probably a good mile or two. So we came up to the bridge and there's these pillars that are holding up the bridge, and the current is going strong around each pillar. And Kyle and I are still roped together. And so at the last minute he goes, "Go right." And I say, "No, go left." And we come up and we're literally about to crash into the column that holds up the bridge. And we both put our feet up and we push up against that column. We go opposite directions and our rope literally got wrapped around the column. I actually get launched out of my tube, and the only thing that I have with me is my life jacket, thank goodness. I'm trying to shout to Kyle what to do. He's trying to like pull the rope to get the tube to the other side, but the current is just way too strong. So I'm floating down the river and I noticed that there's a party going on at one of the houses that is right next to the river. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, but my partner up the river is stuck." And he knew exactly what to do. Apparently this happens all the time in this location. He was already in his swim trunks and he grabbed a life jacket and he ran up the river and he met Kyle. So I'm able to get out of the water and I'm on shore. So Ryan jumps into the river and he helps Kyle get the tube on the other side of the column, and Kyle is set free, thank goodness. We get back in the water. My tube is actually totally deflated, but someone at that party, he was like, "Oh, I have a tube, do you want it?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, that's so nice of you." I get in my new tube, Kyle's got his tube, we've got all of our stuff and we're floating down the river. All is well, but at this point I'm kind of done with the whole tubing experience. And then we have to get out of the water, and this was the part where I was the most scared. We see Taylor and Loudon come up behind us and they've got all their stuff. They're tubing down the river, no problem at all. And they actually pass us and we all see where we're supposed to get out. So Layden's able to get out, but Taylor misses the boat ramp because it's such a short window of when you can get out. The river has risen. The sandbank that you saw at the beginning is totally submerged, totally gone, and the river is just flowing so fast. So we see that Taylor is having problems and we're like, okay, well, we really need to make sure we're, at that side of the river and we're ready. And lo and behold, we overshoot it and we're not able to get out of the water. So the sandbar was over there, not over there anymore. So we came from this direction and we were riding this current here, and we are trying to touch the floor of this boat ramp, and we barely touched the bottom of the boat ramp floor and quickly just got swept away down this way. And you can see how fast it's moving. So if you're not ready for it, you're going to continue with the current and you're going to follow the river and you're going to miss the put out. We are holding on to a bunch of stuff. I've got my paddle, the tube, and we have all these different ropes kind of like hanging off of everything that we're holding on to. And we're desperately trying to grab onto a branch or something so that we can pull ourselves back to the boat ramp that we're supposed to be at. And it was the scariest moment because I actually got tangled in the rope that was right next to a tree and I got sucked under for a moment. And I cannot even tell you how scared I was. And I had to really fight my way out of the situation. Kyle was right next to me. He was dealing with the same thing. And I finally got untangled and I start floating down the river with nothing but my life jacket. And all I see are the tubes that are deflated and I cannot see Kyle. Like, I was terrified for myself, but then I was terrified that something was happening to Kyle because I couldn't see that his head was above the water. Meanwhile, Taylor is on the other side of the river. She was able to get to a place where she's holding on to some sort of overhanging tree and she's just telling me, "Get to shore, get to shore, get to shore." So I finally find this, basically a mud pit off the side, and I climb my way out of the water. In the meantime, I'm like shouting for Kyle and I'm like, "Do you see Kyle?" And she was like, yeah, he's okay. Just get out of the water. She was able to get out of the water. Kyle was able to get out of the water. I was able to get out of the water. but it took a lot to get out. But the biggest surprise was that Kyle didn't lose anything. I did lose my paddle and my sunglasses, but like Kyle still had the tubes and his paddle. We were really scared for each other. We couldn't see what each other was doing. And by the time I got to him up to the parking lot, I was so relieved, so grateful that we were both okay. Just be careful on the water. I know that when you're on a river and the dam releases more water than you think they're going to, I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can do. I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this experience is just be prepared as much as you can. If the river has guidelines as far as like you have to have a life jacket, don't ignore those. That is there for a reason. And rose higher than we expected is because we got started way too late. We started at like 4, and I think they started releasing water at like 1 or 2. So really pay attention to when they're gonna be releasing more water, and that should give you a safer journey on the river. Another thing that I am going to change for our next trip is instead of tying a rope to each other's tubes, I'm going to get a bungee cord that has carabiners on each side so that I'll be able to disconnect the tubes a lot quicker and a lot easier than if we were to use rope. You can see that I'm by the river today. Honestly, like, I'm still wanting to enjoy this place. I'm still anxious to have a successful and enjoyable time on the river, so I'm not going to give up any hope. I'm going to try it again in the future. I really do think the Ocoee River is a great place to go tubing. I think we just had a bad experience, so I wanted to share our story just so that you know kind of what to prepare for in case you are tubing on a river that is being fed from a dam. You just have to be really cautious. If you've made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you watching to the end. If you did watch to the end, maybe comment which river you like going tubing in, whether it's in Tennessee or somewhere completely different in the US. I'm really curious to know. And if you have any crazy river experiences, especially maybe from tubing, I want to hear about it too, so leave that in the comments. Because my phone was trashed on the river, you know, that's going to be an extra expense that I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm not able to get the hiking gear that I really need to get. I am going to go ahead and set up Patreon. If you feel that you'd like to support this channel even more, I'd really appreciate it. I really want to keep this channel strong and keep going. I'm sorry that I am posting this kind of late. I tried to do some, do a couple different things to really share the story a little bit more visually, but had some issues with creating animation. So there's a lot of things I want to do with this channel. So if you feel like you'd be able to support it a little bit further, check out my Patreon page, and I'll just see you at the next adventure.